Hi dolls, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, hi, my name is Naledi and thank you for joining us on today's video. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back and thank you so much for the love. Please do not forget to like, to comment and to subscribe to my channel. Today's video is going to be a wig making video. This is super easy and you don't need to be a professional to do this. All you need to know is how to use a needle and a thread and you are good to go. And for this you're going to need a frontal or a closure depending on the kind of wig that you're going to make. You're going to need 2 or 3 hair bundles, a wig cap. The one that I'm using today makes it easier for anyone to make a wig as it's already pre-mapped out. The one shown was for making a 4x4 closure wig because the frontal mapped out wig cap was out of stock, but this one is still going to be useful and I got this from T-Notch Beauty on Instagram. You're going to need an adjustable elastic band, a table clamp for your wig head, a wig head itself, some T-pins and curved needles, a thread and some clips and a scissor. The first thing that I did was put on the wig cap on the mannequin head, and right now I'm just stretching the back of the wig cap to make it look like your nape or the hair of your head would look like. Not sure if I'm making sense. Right here I'm just gonna fold my frontal in half to see where the middle is, and I'm gonna secure that in the middle of the mannequin head just to make sure that I have centered my frontal correctly. And then the next few steps is just me pinning down the frontal on basically all sides of the frontal, the front and the back. Don't know if I'm making sense, but you just need to see the visuals to see what I'm doing. So right now I'm just clipping it directly at the back of the frontal. Right now I'm just securing or laying down the sides, and I'm going to do that all around the frontal so it's easier for me to start sewing it down. And your frontal basically needs to be a bit forward than your wig cap. Not sure if I'm making sense, but it needs to, like the hair on the frontal needs to overlap a bit and not be completely on the wig cap. I didn't bring it forward much, but I would highly suggest that you bring it forward even if it's just a centimeter. So right now I'm just gonna be removing all the hair out of the way so I can sew the frontal peacefully without any disturbances. And that is where I'm going to start with my sewing. Here I'm just making sure that I pin down the flaps of the frontal just to make sure that everything is secure for when I start sewing it down. So you can see right here that I've secured everything. Now I'm going to start with my sewing and basically just going to put your thread in your needle. I'm going to be using about a arm's length, and with the 2 loose ends on the other side of the thread I'm just going to make a knot and cut the excess. I'm going to start with my sewing here, and honestly it doesn't matter if you go from your lace to the wig cap or the wig cap to the lace, and that is where the sewing starts. And with the first 2 sews, or honestly don't know how to describe it, to secure or make sure that it is secure, I'm just gonna go through the lace and then go through the wig cap and put back the needle in the hole of the thread or the loop. Honestly don't think I'm making sense, but hopefully you can see what I'm explaining, and I'm going to do that for the first 2 times just to make sure that it is secure. And then I'm just gonna sew from one end of the frontal to the other side.
want to know. Let me tell you, what's it go? G-Wagon, all the Bentley. They get them, ride the whip. I know we die for nothing. What's it go? G-Wagon, all the Bentley. They get them, ride the whip. I know we different things that happening, schemes and packaging. In a one night for shows, I'm juggling. Flow like the ocean, port I'm paddling. Fella, that's my bro, my family, frozen drinks.
So basically at the beginning and the end of sewing, you always need to make that loop thing to make sure that it is secure, and then you're going to be needing a string of hair or a gosh, I really don't know much about hair, but you're gonna need a piece of hair to put directly behind your frontal. You basically needed to go from one end to the other, but mine was not long enough, so I'm basically gonna be putting it in the middle, and it's just gonna be ending on both sides before we get to the end of the frontal. But honestly, that's still fine, it won't disturb the look of the wig. And I'm just gonna be sewing that down. Basically now I'm sewing from the lace, the wig cap, and the piece of hair or the weft. So I'm gonna do that from the one end to where the piece of weave or the piece of weft ends.
What's it go? G-Wagon, all the Bentley. They get them, ride the whip. I know we die for nothing. What's it go? G-Wagon, all the Bentley. They get them, ride the whip. I know we different things that happening, schemes and packaging. In a one night for shows, I'm juggling. Flow like the ocean, port I'm paddling. Fella, that's my bro, my family, frozen drinks. When it comes to money, I did concentrate. Because I tell you straight, you are not my mate. If you become a should not be head of state. But my people then go say, I know one buy, I know one die, I know one payment. I want enjoy, I want job life, I want buy motor, I want build house, I still want to know. What's it going? G-Wagon, all the Bentley. They get them, ride the whip. I know we die for nothing. What's it going? G-Wagon, all the Bentley. They get them, ride the whip. I know we die for nothing.
Now we're gonna start using our bundles, and we're gonna start at the bottom. Basically I'm just gonna follow those pre-made or pre-mapped outlines, even though this is not a 4x4 wig. And the beginning of sewing, again, we make that loop 2 times just to make sure that it is secure, and that is what I'm doing right here. And basically I'm just going to be following these lines until we get a bit further up in the wig, where we slightly going to start changing our direction. But for now I'm just going to be sewing it like so. And when we get to the end of the wig cap, or the corner of the wig cap, we're going to be making those 2 loops again. And with other people, they cut the weft, but I honestly just wanna bend it and continue going. Not sure if I'm making sense again, but you see what I am talking about. So basically when I get to the corner, I'm gonna make my 2 loops and then pin or sew the weave to where I like, further up to where I wanna start making the next row. And I'm just gonna do 2 more of those hoop thingies. So basically we're gonna be doing 4 loops in total, 2 at the end of the first line, and then 2 where we're going to be starting or turning to a new line. Don't know if I'm making sense, but I hope the visuals are good enough. That is what I'm trying to show you here. That is why it is a bit zoomed in. And not sure if you realize, but at the corners, or when I'm turning the weft, I go through that thick part of the weft. Don't know what you call that, but as I sew basically through the middle, I just go underneath that thick part. I'm no longer going through it, but I'm going underneath it. Honestly, don't know if I'm making sense, but I hope the visuals are enough. And I'm just going to be following the pre-mapped outlines till I get to the very top of the wig, where I start changing directions. But for now I'm just going to be following the lines. And because I have 3 bundles, I'm not going to be going on the white lines. I'm just basically going to be going, don't know how to explain this either, but I'm going to be sewing an imaginary line in between the white lines. So basically I'm gonna do 1 row on the white line and a row between the white lines, and then I'm gonna go on the white lines again. That is what I'm trying to show you here. So I'm just gonna go following the lines until I get way up, and then I'll start showing you when I change the direction. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that I was running out of weft, and this is where I'm going to be changing my direction. I honestly would have loved 3 rows, but those 2 rows that I just showed are going to be enough. So basically, instead of going in that sort of curved line that we were going with or following from the beginning of sewing, these last 2 lines are basically a bit much straighter, basically parallel to that one weave or weft line that I put directly behind the frontal. Don't know if I'm making sense, but it is not following the white lines that we had. That is why that white piece of line or thread is showing there, because I was not following that. I basically just went directly straight from one side to the other. I hope I'm making sense, and that is what I did with those last 2 pieces of weft. Honestly, could have loved 1 more line in between, but it still looked proper. The wig still looked good enough. And after this, I am completely done with sewing my wig. I'm gonna let the hair down, and this is what the wig looks like. Just combing it right here to make sure that it looks good and there are no humps and bumps. Quickly gonna take off the pins, the T-pins, so that we can cut the wig cap on the inside. So this is what the wig looks like. I'm gonna turn it inside out so that I'm able to cut that piece of wig cap, and the piece of wig cap that we're going to be cutting is the one that is directly underneath the frontal lace. Make sure that you just leave a bit of space between the sewing where we sewed the frontal and the lace, but we're just gonna cut that piece out, which is basically gonna look like basically like a moon. And yeah, that is what the wig looks like right now. Absolutely loved it. This is what it is giving. So here is the final wig. It is honestly secure and tight enough, but for the sake of the video, I'm just going to be adding in the elastic band, and to do that I'm going to need a marker or a light colored pencil, and I'm going to be marking on the inside of the wig, but at the top of my ear, so that I know where to sew in the elastic and it's not comfortable. So I'm just gonna feel where the top of my ear is, and then just behind it. So basically here is where I'm gonna place it. So I'm just gonna feel where the top of my ear is, and then just behind it here is where I'm gonna place the elastic band. So I'm gonna put my wig back on, so at the top of my ear, but just behind, which is literally here, and it does not need to be straight. I just need to have an overall marking of where I want to put it. So same thing on the other side, top of the ear, top of the ear, and just behind it. So basically this is where both my markings are, and then I'm going to put the elastic band on the inside of the wig so that it is, I don't know if parallel is the word, but so that it's lying the same way that the back elastic or the back side of the wig cap is laying. And I feel like this elastic is too big, but basically I'm just gonna sew it here, so like that, and I'm gonna sew it this side. And to be honest, I could take it all the way up. I could just do it where the lace ends, which is right here, and then I could do the same this side.
What's it go? G-Wagon, all the Bentley. They get them, ride the whip. I know feet, die for nothing. What's it go? G-Wagon, all the Bentley. They get them, ride the whip. I know feet. Different things then happening, schemes and packaging. In a one night for shows, I'm juggling. Flow like the ocean, port I'm paddling. Sharashina fella, that's my bro, my family. Frozen trains. When it comes to money, I did concentrate. Because I tell you straight, you are not my mate. If you become, you should not be head of state. But my people then go say, I know one buy, I know one die. still want to know. What's